And hello again, and here we are for part 4 of my series on building up a decent quality toolkit at home for working on your own bike. And as you can see, part 4 is going to be about pliers. And what can you say about pliers? Well, not much, but we'll do our best. So the most common pair of pliers you'll have is this kind. Everyday pair of pliers, everyone's got them, and yeah, what can you say? A million makes out there, and I wouldn't like to suggest what brand you buy because, God, I don't know. I guess, you know, the usual Teng, Facom, Starville, pretty much just loads out there. Kipex, Nipex. So yeah, these are what everybody uses around your home for DIY, and yeah, they're pretty useful when working on your own bike. But what I have found is they're often a bit too big when you're working on a bike, because bikes tend to have small components. So you might find, as well as this pair of pliers, a pair of narrow-nosed pliers will become very, very helpful. Where you can't quite get these in a little recess or to access something that's stuck, maybe a split pin, that sort of thing, then these narrow-nosed pliers come in very handy. So once you've got that pair, I would suggest you buy yourself a pair of these narrow-nosed pliers. These are straight narrow-nosed pliers, but you can also get them which are bent like this, and these are also very handy because they enable you to sort of maneuver things a bit easier than using the straight ones. So I'll suggest once you've got your standard pair, you also buy a narrow jawed pair and a bent pair as well, like this, coming very handy. So next to it here we've got something that's not really a pair of pliers, but they kind of count for me, and these are Stilsons. These are sort of locking pair of pliers for gripping things, and you can adjust them, and then once you've adjusted it and locked it down, they're locked, you know, they're not going to come undone. And to undo them, you've got this yellow lever here which you press, and that allows them to become open again. Very handy, kind of really a last resort when it comes to using them on a motorbike, because they tend to, you know, destroy whatever they're gripping. You know, you'll ruin the finish on a nut or a shaft or something like that if you use one of these. But sometimes, you know, you can't do anything else. You've got to get the damn thing out. It might be a rusty bolt, a rusty shaft that won't come out any other way. So these Stilsons often come in handy as a last resort. I've got two pairs here. There's a wide pair and again a narrow jawed pair, and this pair tends to be a bit more handy, a bit more useful when used on the small components of a motorbike. This particular pair are made by Stanley. I believe Stanley are now, you know, importing parts from China. These are actually quite an old pair. I've had them about, God, I don't know, 10 to 15 years, so I've no idea where they're made, but yeah, they're working pretty well. And to be fair, they're pretty simple, well-known tools, so if they come from China, hopefully they'll still work pretty well. So moving on then, on this side we've got this pair of pliers, and these aren't for gripping things, these are for cutting things, and these are called side cutters. And yeah, they've got a very sharp blade here, and they're used for cutting wire, cutting cables, that sort of thing. Now it is true that these other pair of pliers also include an area at the base for cutting things. They have a sharp area here, but they do tend to be a bit more awkward to use than these, and these are much easier to get the exact place we want to cut than these things. So I would suggest, yes, you buy yourself a pair of side cutters. Now these are made by the German company Kipex or Nipex, K-N-I-P-E-X, and when it comes to pliers, Kipex seem to be the brand to have. It's strange because Kipex no doubt make a huge range of tools, but everyone seems to just want them for their pliers. I think, you know, they make such a huge range and it's great quality that, yeah, I'm now buying Kipex and I'm very happy to buy them. Not cheap, but well worth the price. Similarly, on this side here, oh, by the way, these are also for cutting things, but not really made for motorbikes, so we'll just ignore that. On here, I've got these rather special Kipex adjustable pliers. And well, pliers or spanners, I'm not sure what, but what's special about them is, yes, they're adjustable, as you can see, but what makes them special is they are parallel jawed adjustables. So as they open and close, the jaws remain parallel to each other. Very clever design. Not sure you can see it on that one, but maybe you can see it here. The jaws remain parallel. Very clever. And that comes in very handy when you're trying to grip, say, a nut or a bolt head, it's important that the jaws remain parallel so you can grip it correctly, unlike something like these where they open at an angle, so you're not gripping the nut head correctly. So yeah, I do recommend Kippex for pretty much all your adjustable spanners and spanners in general. They are a fantastic make. If you go online and have a look at Kippex, or Nipex, however you pronounce it, their range of pliers is just immense. I mean, they make literally hundreds and hundreds of different kinds, and you could sort of spend thousands of pounds. Oh, that's nice, but I'm just buying them one by one as I need them. So they're the sort of basics when it comes to pliers. Oh, by the way, this one here, not mentioned it yet, this one is also quite specialist. I actually bought this for not for motorbikes but for bicycles, because it's designed to cut cables, not wire, but cables, thick cables that you would find, say, on the brakes of a bicycle. So not really very relevant, but I thought I'd just include it there because I do use it occasionally. So that's the sort of typical range of your everyday pliers. But there are other kinds of pliers that you might also need, and they are circlip pliers. So down here I've got a little kit made by a company called Bergen, who again a very good make. I think Bergen also make lots of little minute tools for working on watches, that sort of thing, so they're quite well known. And I bought these some time ago, and they have tips on them that are quite small, so you can get them in the holes of a circlip, and obviously you squeeze them and that squeezes the circlip and hopefully you can fit it or remove it. They're also a different kind. These are where as you squeeze them they open up, so that will open up a circlip to let you remove it. I've also got here two more, and they are angled. Very handy when you come to things like dropping in a circlip, say on a wheel bearing, something like that. These would be useless for that, but these are really, really handy. Only problem is I don't use them. I don't use them at all because they're too big. The tips are far too big for the vast majority of circlips you'll find on a motorbike. So sadly, I don't use these anymore. So I went off, and I can't, well, I think it went off, but I still had a few anyway. These sort of all pair. Hang on, there goes my microphone. Mustn't let that drop, otherwise we'll be in trouble. Right, there we go. Yeah, so these are, guess what? Kippex again. Kippex circlip pliers. Much smaller, and the tips are much smaller. These are bent. These aren't Tippex, these are Starville, I think. I've had these donkey's years. And this is the kind of size you need when working on circlips on a motorbike. You might occasionally find a really big circlip, but usually this size here is about right. So I would say don't buy your typical sort of kit you'll find in Halfords, that sort of thing, because you'll get something that size which is just too big for a motorbike. Instead, get something this size and this size from the likes of Kippex again. You don't need to buy a vast majority of them, just buy 2 or 3, you know, internal, external, and some perhaps with a 90-degree bend on it, and you're good. So that's all I can really say about pliers. And once again, if you're watching this and you've got some suggestions of brands and makes to buy that are good value and good quality that I'm not aware of, then please put them in the comments below. And somebody out there who's starting out might find that very helpful. Certainly Kippex pliers and tools aren't cheap, made in Germany, so I guess nothing from Germany is cheap, but they are certainly worth the price, the cost to me. But if you can't afford them, then I'm not sure what else you can buy. But always try and buy the best tools you can, because they will last you an absolute lifetime. I've got tools I bought 40 years ago and they're still working well. I mean, God knows how long I've had, let me see, these here. I've had these an awful long time, probably about 35 years. Yeah, these are Starville, still working well, and I'm sure they'll outlast me. So it's well worth investing in decent tools. You don't have to buy, you know, the very top end, your snap-on and all that kind of stuff. There's plenty of decent tools on the mid-range that are well worth buying and will last you a lifetime. If you're a pro using these things every day, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, then probably you do need to have snap-on tools. But if you are a pro, you're not watching my video. Most folks don't work on their bikes every day of the week, every week of the year. So these will last you, you know, your lifetime if you take care of them. Right, so that's it for my quick video about pliers. So I'm not sure what's next, but no doubt we'll soon come up with some ideas. So thanks for watching and cheers.